I'm gay.
I'm a lesbian.
I am actually pansexual.
I am transgender.
I'm just a nigga with a rocket launcher.
Bartender! Could you, I wonder, do you think it's mostly just cowboy movies that brainwash us into thinking what life was like in, like, Texas and Oklahoma and Kansas in, like, 1875 America? You know what I mean? Like,
You mean giving us a false idea?
it could not have been like that.
Well, in some ways it was. I mean, what specifically do you think
Because
is
I don't know
false?
anything about America, like rural America in 1875, 1880.
Yeah, I don't know too much about that period either. I'm sure a lot of what we see in those westerns is reasonably accurate.
Yeah, but like, you know, the
But
story of White Earp and what's his face, Doc Holliday. Like, apparently the portrayals of the movies was nothing like what those characters were actually like. You know
well,
what
I'm
I
sure.
mean?
Yeah, I'm sure that's heavily fictionalized, if not completely made up. One question I
There's a great SNL skit where they make fun of Doc Holliday and he's basically just he's like sneezing blood on everyone and stuff and gives the prostitute herpes. It's really funny. Jake Gyllenhaal does it. It's funny. You ever see it?
no, I haven't.
I'll send it to you. It's funny. So this is a recording. I know a lot of our listeners get upset when I don't give the date and time and location when I do these recordings. It is December 29th at 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. I am Lamprey Milt and expat Aftermath, returned expat, Blue Diamond, Foreign Devil, however you want to call him, is the co-host. It's just me and him. And no, I am tonight, and kind of just want to talk to my friend. Me and expat were having an hour conversation prior to recording this, and I was like, stop, let's just record our conversation because it's just fantastic. And I'm kind of what is it? Going through doing a form of catharsis, complaining about various different things. And I wanted to touch base with you because you relocated and you've been giving me your two thoughts on. I guess I mean you've been traveling a lot the last 3 or 4 years, especially post COVID, and
Yeah.
you know I'm not gonna speak for you obviously, but I know you've
No, that's fair
definitely
to say.
switched your attitude about certain things. Have changed at least since you started doing these live streams with me, and
Well,
yeah, it's pretty like it's like my day started off really shitty, um, because for whatever reason, and I know you're not much of a car person, but I like cars. I do. Not so much modern cars, because modern cars are kind of like plastic and gay, and they're kind of cumbersome, and you don't necessarily have the ability to work on them yourself. But I've been seeing an obscene amount of BMW M classes driven. Now, granted, I am in New York. So you definitely see more expensive cars than you were to see them in other states. Nothing new. I'm not, but the M class BMW is a very expensive BMW. BMW is already expensive, right? And it's a finicky car. It's the thought of cars. Okay, it doesn't give you all that much. It doesn't have utility. They break easy. They are built in a way where you cannot fix them. A lot of plastic components. You never see one with over 150,000 miles. But an M class, and for those who may not know, and I don't think you necessarily know, but an M Class is basically a regular BMW Sport Edition. So the engine is all decked out, turbos. I think, and maybe my listeners can correct me if I'm wrong, they're hand built by one individual. So the engine is actually hand built by someone in Germany, which is pretty cool versus a regular BMW. Anyway, so I've been seeing a lot of M-Class BMWs. We're talking cars that are $125,000 or more, brand new, being driven around everywhere. Now, growing up, I would never see an M-Class because they were so expensive. So if I saw an M-Class BMW, I know the person had serious bank. Like the guy was making serious money. He was well established. He had the ability to basically spend the money on having it serviced, having it repaired, etc., etc. I remember my best friend's brother. He bought a M-Class 3 Series from 1994. And this was around 2010, 2011. And this blue 1994 M-Class appeared in his driveway. And his name was Mike. I go, Mike, what are you doing with this old BMW M Series? He goes, well, I'm going to fix it. It's a cool car, blah, blah, blah. And me and his brother were like, that's probably a really bad investment. You bought a car that's, close to 20 years old. It's got a lot of miles, and they're very expensive to fix. Very expensive. You're spending a lot of money and a lot of time trying to fix it yourself. He happened to be very good with his hands in fixing cars, so he thought he had the ability to fix it. Long story short, the car sat in the driveway, became a flower pot, and I think he threw about $10,000 or $15,000 of his own money into it, and the car never left the driveway. So I've been seeing more of these BMWs on the road, and I'm wondering to myself, how did this become a thing? How is everyone making $1,000 car payment all of a sudden? I have not had a chance to look into what the financing deal is with BMW for these M classes right now. But regardless of what the financing is, we're talking well over $1,000 car payment, not including insurance. And then you see some of the characters driving this car. Now, back again, if I go back to when I was growing up, it was a guy who was middle aged, wearing a very expensive suit. They were. It was a show of opulence. It was a show that I've made it. It's a show that I can afford something so expensive. Now I'm seeing the feral basketball American with blunt smoke billowing out of the driver's window. So I'm like, well, obviously he is not, he can't be making $350,000 driving around this car. The 22-year-old thought with the OnlyFans also. I mean, I grant you may be making good money with your OnlyFans, but I don't think you can still afford this type of car. So now I'm seeing more and more of this car. Maybe it's me trying, oh, am I just looking for this car? No, it just started appearing more and more and more in my vision because I've been driving a lot more. And it makes me wonder, one is, well, are they actually successful? Two, are they just in debt, which is more than likely the case? And three, the bigger crux of what I'm trying to get at is that because of the high finance, is that now everyone can have a BMW M class. When you go back 20 years ago, no one can have it. If you actually had an M-Class BMW, it meant that you were doing very well. Now, because of money printer go burr and everyone can have a BMW, you can now work at a Dollar General driving around in a $150,000 vehicle. That's my rant. And here I am driving around in my, well, how old's my car now? My car is 21 years old, beat the shit, okay? I'm not going to get into my car, but I at least don't have a car payment on it, right? And I'm just like wondering, like, I could never live that way. Like, I can never, I'm having anxiety just thinking about the thought of having such a monster payment for something that's constantly depreciating as soon as I turn it on. And, it's like, and I think right now with car debt, what is it? 80% of the cars you see on the road are financed. 80%.
Yeah.
That's crazy. What are you doing? Wait, so what are you supposed to do as like someone who's living in Bugman world? Are you supposed to just join the Joneses and be in debt like that? It's just like, I don't get it, man. I just can't. I could never live my life. I'm freaking out over like an $800 mortgage payment or a rent payment. To know I'm gonna have to pay $800 for the rest of my life just sucks. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
All right. Anyway, that's it. I'll let you talk.
Yeah. Well, I think the system is trying to make you a debt slave. There's no question about it. No, I mean,
financing a cell phone, bro.
No, I know it's preposterous, and I try to avoid that as much as possible. I've been racking up, a lot of charges on my credit card lately because, certain reasons. But
expat money printer go burr.
Well, but the thing about that is that, I mean, these cars actually exist and people actually drive them, right, in the real world. So even if it is, financial wizardry that's creating the conditions for this, in material terms, it seems that people are getting wealthier.
Well, okay, I'm gonna rewind. So, my last car, which is still the same as that car I drive now, right? I've had the same model car two in a row. My last one I bought when I was 21, and I actually kept track of every single expense I made on the car, including what I bought it for. And so I kept like this ledger on my computer. Obviously, you exclude the tires, you exclude oil changes, you exclude things that are normal wear and tear items. You wouldn't include tires and oil changes would be the two, and brakes, rotors, serpentine belt. And I actually managed to get this car down to costing me in a span of 10 years $150 a month. I think that's pretty good. I think that's good. To average it all out when it's all said and done, and that actually includes a paint job. I actually had the car fully painted, 150. So, and then you extrapolate how many miles, how much did it cost per mile, et cetera, et cetera. I feel like I came out on top. Now, you look at, the feral driving around, he doesn't think in these terms. I don't think most Americans think in these terms. Living in Asia, I realized budgeting myself monthly was a smarter way of doing things versus doing things weekly or annually. I thought monthly just makes a lot of sense. Don't know why. I guess the numbers look prettier or whatever. So, I managed my car, my previous car, averaging $150. It's a pretty good. And then where are you gonna get a car payment that's $150? See, you know what I mean?
Right.
Versus everyone paying $1,000. Now, mind you, that BMW, you're never gonna get even remotely close to bringing it that value. That monthly payment to 100. That car costs you $150. Same thing with my
that's
computer.
What I was going to ask. I mean, I don't get it, right? I mean, if you're paying $1,000 a month and putting aside interest, I mean, you're talking over 12 years of payments to to pay off that. Well, I don't know what the principal would be in that case, but to pay off the value of the car. Right?
You're never going to.
Right. So how does that? I mean, so what actually happens there? I mean, do you? I mean, because I've never leased a car, right? Or I've never financed a car, I guess would be the right. See, I don't even know the right word for it. But I mean, so you drive that for a few years and then it breaks down and you still haven't paid off the car. What do?
Well, you have to lease another one.
Are you
I
still?
guess that's the whole game with leasing cars. I remember when leasing cars became a thing, and I thought it kind of like didn't make sense unless you own a business. So it's like, oh, okay, so you drive a car for 4 years, you're not allowed to go over a certain amount of mileage because then you get penalized heavily for it. You bring the car in, and then they penny pinch on all the little nicks and dings and stains, and keys that you lost a key.
Yeah.
Maybe there's a crease mark in the seat, and they start penny pinching.
Right.
They say you owe us, $5,000 or $10,000 in addition to whatever you leased the car for. And then they strong arm you saying, okay, lease is up. Now you got to get another car, and then you do it all over again. So you never actually, again, you lease it. You don't own it. You could buy the lease out, but it just didn't
Yeah.
compute with me where the concept made sense.
Right. Yeah. I would not really want to lease a car unless money was, so tight that I
You are
couldn't afford.
flush with cash.
Yeah, like if I really needed a car and I really couldn't afford to buy one or finance one, then I would consider leasing one. But otherwise, I mean, I wouldn't want to drive around a car that I didn't own all the time. No, I mean, yeah, it's another sort of marker of the paradoxical nature of our economy today. People are kind of rich on paper, but poor in reality, or vice versa, depending on how you look at it. I mean, a lot of these people that are driving these BMW M series probably are broke. You're probably right that they're financing it, and somehow they're playing the game of being able to juggle those payments indefinitely. They're just kind of using the system to get what they want, and somehow it enables them to keep doing it.
Just my philosophy has been, I just don't want, because when you are in debt, it really is a form of slavery if you really think about it. It's like, no matter what, you can't tell an employer to go, like the people that took the jab, they got
Yeah.
what was it, on arm ticket, they got the arm ticket, and okay, well, you have a $600,000 mortgage, you financed your iPhone, you financed your car. You can't just tell that job to go fuck off. You because of all this excess amount of debt you have. And luckily for me, and I obviously probably for you, we had the luxury of basically telling employers to go drop dead. Literally, no pun intended, obviously.
Right, for various reasons, right? And I mean, some people worked remotely, so it didn't matter, or their company didn't actually force them to do anything, or they were able to hunker down and just kind of wait out the period of maximum pressure until the company's back down. And others, I think, just well, I mean, obviously, a lot of people quit or got fired over the jab, and some people were able to get exemptions, write a letter, whatever. But many people just caved because it was easier to cave and take something that they didn't really want because they were under pressure to do so, and it's really shameful
They're
and
under pressure
disgraceful
because
that
they're
this
in debt. Some.
Yeah,
Not
okay.
all. Some people
Well, so let's
just
say,
lined up
right.
for their
I mean,
booster.
right. They're paying a mortgage. They have a family to support. They have an upper middle class job. Right. They're living in an expensive city. They have a prestigious career. And their choice is to, either take this one little injection. Right. Remember how they framed it? It's like, it's just a little jab. What? Are you afraid of needles? Just a little poke. It doesn't even hurt. Just takes 5 seconds. Right.
So wait, so
That's all you have to do, and you can keep all of this, right? And if you refuse, then you lose all of this. You lose your career.
Don't you
You're
want to be a
unemployed. You can't
member
pay
of
your
the
mortgage.
upper middle class?
Do
Is
you want
this
to?
what you aspire to be?
This is the price of admission.
This is the
Just
price of admission.
this one little poke of a
This
needle.
one poke. Just come on. You know you
Yeah.
want that in-ground swimming pool.
You
You know
probably
you
won't
want it.
drop
Your
dead.
wife wants it. Your children want it. The floaties. Hey, maybe it's even got a whirlpool in that in-ground swimming pool that you want so bad. The Porsche Cayenne truck. Cayenne, whatever it is. Anyway, the point. Circling back to why I woke up on a bad mood. So I saw a BMW M Class on the highway, and it had a vanity plate, and it said options, meaning he's an options trader. And I'm driving behind him, and I'm thinking to myself for like 15, 20 minutes. I go, this motherfucker. If I could key his fucking car, knowing that he made money, robbing Granny's fucking pension and money off of reverse mortgages because Boomer doesn't want to fucking give up their home, and give it as inheritance to their children because they want to live in the villages in Florida, in Ocala, Florida. And it just like, I'm like, it's this guy. It's like, now granted, probably a hard job. Not gonna deny that. Okay, I did know a commodities trader, and he was explaining. Now he's making seven figures every year, but he was telling me he was around our age too at the time. And I was like, well, I'm like, wow, you're making seven figures, whatever. And he goes, I wake up every morning vomiting. I wake up every morning vomiting because I know if I make a mistake, I just cost tens of millions of dollars in mistakes. So he goes, I can't do this. I can't do it for 10 years. It's like a job that
Yeah.
he's gonna do for like 4 or 5 years, suck it up, make his money, and I don't know, go on a safari, be a safari hunter, and what was that guy, Chadwick or whatever, the guy who wrote Death in the Long Grass, where he was like 28, 26 years old. Phenomenal book, by the way, to all my listeners. Probably the best book I've ever read in my life, Death in the Long Grass. So this guy Chadwick, that's his last name. His first name slips my mind. Raging alcoholic. This is like in the 60s and early 70s. He was a stockbroker in Wall Street, made buco dollars before the time he was 30, then wound up moving to Africa and did these safari tours. He brokered safari tours for all of his buddies back in Wall Street to come over to Africa to go, hunt lions and shit like that. And he wrote a book about people basically that he took on these safaris dying from lion attacks and water buffalo and not water buffalo, water ox. Son of a bitch.
Water buffalo?
No, it wasn't a water buffalo. I think it was ox. It was like a water ox or something. And he said that was the most violent animal that he ever came across. His second was hippopotamus. So he wrote a book called Death in the Long Grass about all of his friends, air quote friends or clients from Wall Street that went over to visit him that wound up getting killed. Great book. So each chapter is about the different animal and how violent they are. Point being is like, getting off topic here, but this would be like a type, like a job like being an option trader. It would be a high stress job. But again, he's behind the desk. And why would you put that as your vanity plate? Like that just into itself is so, self-indulgent.
Yeah.
But it just like okay, so he makes
I
a
would
shit
want to
ton
be
of
a
money.
little bit inconspicuous, I mean, if I had a lot of money, which I'm not
Especially
saying.
that, right? Exactly. Most guys I know that have seven figures, they don't flaunt it.
Yeah,
Maybe when
I
they're
mean,
younger they do, but eventually that kind of
now
gets old.
it's kind of a meme that, like, the billionaire drives like a beat up old Volkswagen or something. I mean, that's
He
just bullshit.
does.
No. Well, okay, maybe the billionaire. The guy
No,
who's like
billionaire
so far up
definitely
in the
isn't.
stratosphere that he can act weird. But I mean, your average rich dude does not drive, a beater car. I mean, he's going to live nice. He's going to have to the
Okay, he'll
discerning,
drive a Ford Explorer but with leather seats. You
something
see what
like
I'm
that.
saying? Like he'll drive a
So
souped up average car. He's
yeah,
not going to be. I guarantee he's not driving M series. He's not that stupid because he made that money not putting his money into something so retarded as an M series BMW
well,
because he
there's
knows he's never going to get any value out of that.
you're talking about it. You're discussing a different aspect of it. Yes, I mean that is true too. He's going to want to buy things of real value, and he's going to want to understand what he's buying. which most of these idiots, it seems like they don't. But also, you don't want to be a target, right? I mean, you don't want to kind of announce and flaunt
Why
the
not?
fact of money, because it's
Why?
stupid,
Why is
self-destructive.
it stupid?
Well,
Are
we
you
all know why.
suggesting something might happen to them?
I'm suggesting, something might absolutely happen to them, and people who don't realize that are idiots, and they're asking to get robbed, frankly.
I saw
Or
I saw a video on the lively Telegram. This guy has like two Mercedes Benz in his driveway, and he leaves his garage open. And he's just fucking some gook in Connecticut, because that's where Chinese people come from, Connecticut, and he leaves his garage open. He's in the garage, and two guys get into the garage. They hold him at gunpoint. Give me the effing keys, and they just steal his cars right in front of him. They beat him and just steal his cars straight up. Like you were asking for that, dude. Leaving your garage open. You're in your uh I don't know, Brooks Brothers boxers and
yeah,
flipping in Birkenstocks and with a wife beater on. Yeah, of course you're gonna get robbed. That was just stupid of you to do something like that. You like it?
yeah,
Yeah, you don't want to be a target, especially this day and age. There probably was a time, like even growing up, like like I said, I mentioned the BMW. Like growing up, oh wow, it's something. I'd like to know what he does for a living. Oh, can I ask you, like, how do I do what you did? Now it's just like you're just an asshole,
yeah.
right? Because it's not cool anymore. It's the foie rages downward, as I like to say, where now even the low IQ mystery meat thought with an OnlyFans and a hand tattoo and a neck tattoo gets to enjoy wine in Santorini. Well, Santorini wasn't supposed to be meant for someone like that,
Right.
but because of the social media, because of the ease of traveling, debt, so on and so OnlyFans. Now
Yeah.
she's entitled to champagne on the beach and Instagramming what she eats. When again, that wasn't necessarily the case. Be you had to be an acolyte. You had to be someone of high status, not someone who smokes blunts in a McDonald's parking lot at 2 o'clock in the morning in Weaselburg, fucking Alabama.
Well, again, I mean, it's just this general increase in prosperity that you don't really feel it so much because you're comparing yourself to other people. I don't mean you, but just that's human
Right.
nature. But things like international travel used to be. So I read a crazy statistic. So in 1990 or 1992, I forget which, only 5% of Americans had a passport.
Yep.
And now it's like 60%, 65%.
Oh, it has increased that much.
I mean, think about that. Right. I'm just stunned that it was only 5% in the early 90s, right? I mean, I thought it had been around 50%. Or, no, I always knew it was a minority. I always knew that most Americans don't have a passport. I remember, hearing that as I was growing up, like it was a
Even when
way
I
of
was
mocking
even when I was in
Americans.
Asia, there used to be like Europeans used to say Americans don't have passports. No one in my house has a passport. No, I think I might be the only. I'm trying to think. Out of like 20 family members, maybe me and three others have passports. I guess my father doesn't. Both my mothers don't. And
Yeah,
none of
and
my
this,
yeah none of my brothers have passports. So
and this is pretty normal, but it's becoming very normal for Americans to travel abroad, even to live abroad, just as a matter of course. And this is a function of increasing wealth. Just a broad-based increase in material standard of living that we kind of take for granted. I mean, just flying used to be a privilege, right? I mean, flying used to be very expensive relative to the average income. in the 70s, for example. That's why it was so nice, right? We see those pictures of what flying used to be like in the 60s or 70s, and this is what they took from us. And it's like, well, yeah, but I mean, those tickets are the equivalent of like $4,000 today for a domestic flight or whatever it was. So I mean, I think we have a lot to be grateful for. I think that's something that is missed in this sphere, this corner of the internet, this side of the Great Divide, and you really see a lot of just anger and resentment and bitterness about the way things are going, and I understand that. I mean, a lot of
But
that
is that
justified.
you? Is that you? This is my new one. Is that you? Are you just being a victim? Right?
Mm-hmm.
This is my latest argument I'm having with someone who I'm not going to discuss. No, you're kind of being a victim. Well, I'm not really a victim to illegal immigration, but I'm sympathizing with someone who's on a lower common denominator as me, who's not as educated. I'm sympathizing with them. You ever think of that?
Right.
Maybe I'm sympathizing with the cattle rancher in Arizona right now. He's got fucking bloated corpses on his fucking property, and he gets blamed for it because there was a fucking fence up, and they couldn't climb over the fence.
There's people are far too much in their own heads. Like, I think we have to address the problems that are right in front of us, and that starts with our own personal situation, our financial situation, our friends and family members and loved ones, and then we should work from there. Build from.
Is it my fault that I can't afford a house where I grew up? Is that my fault? Let's start with that question. Like,
it's not a question of fault.
Right? Am I? But or right? Is that something that can I improve, or do I do what the guy in the M-Class BMW does? Where he just racks up debt. Now, it's not my fault. Okay. Now, mind you, people that have a lot of money have the ability to borrow more money. And when you have no money, you can't borrow money. It's like a Louis C.K. thing. It's like, if I use the debit card, if I have no money in my bank account, they actually take more money away from me that I don't even have. But if I had money in the bank account, they actually give me money.
Yeah. Well, again, I mean, that's the way the whole system is set up, is to induce you to take on debt. But yeah, it is a little bit of a catch-22 if you don't already have a lot of money. I mean, you have nothing. I mean, you have no collateral, right? I mean, who's going to lend you? But I mean, this also makes sense, right? I mean, like, what bank is going to lend you a ton of money if you're an unknown quantity, if you don't have a good credit history, if you don't have collateral, if you don't have credit? Why would people lend you money? I mean, this makes sense. It's not some conspiracy.
It's like, it's like I, spent whatever, 20, yeah, it's gotta be like 20 years since my first credit card. And, I just, making payments on time. I've never missed a credit card payment in my life, which I'm kind of proud of. So then, I go and get mortgages, and then my credit score fucking tanks. And, I'm trying to explain to people, well, yeah, that's the whole point of a credit score. You behave for a really long time, and then you go and borrow money. And of course, your credit score is going to go down when you take an absorbent amount of money out. That's normal. I used the power that was given to me to go get cheap loans. That's kind of what you're supposed to do. What do you think? You're just going to keep an 800 credit score? Oh, it's going to just stay like that? Well, you're going to have to go and borrow money. If you borrow money and you do a hard credit check, that's going to affect your credit score. It's like, I don't know, man. It's like, I'm all over the place tonight. I got another one for you. How about this? So, like, I was just like, who the hell? I was talking to some boomer, and I was like, I was discussing how, like, the labor force to a specific industry is now making as much as management. So, okay, granted, the laborers are working with their hands. I get it. Okay, they're on their feet all day. They're walking around and such, but they make it as much as their bosses, who are, have to basically know what those guys are doing and then some. And then so the boomer goes, well, it's, the manager is making equal to what the laborer is working because they sit in their desk all day long. So they don't have to they don't have to work nearly as hard. I'm like, what? What? Did you just tell me the reason why a manager is a middle manager or upper management is not entitled to more money because they sit at a desk all day long? That's not how it's supposed to work. The reason why he gets to sit in the desk all day long is because he knows everything that guy's doing, can do his job, and then some. You know what I'm saying?
That's right. I mean, that is how it's supposed to work. Is that the managers get paid more?
No, not in boomer world. No, you see, the other guys gotta make more just because you sit around all day long.
Look, there's no morality to it. I mean, I think we have to try to, think about this objectively and in terms of, economic principles, right? Just remember supply and demand. If there's, tons of people that are available to sit in an office and direct the labor of these, workers, then they're not going to get paid as much as the laborers who are a more scarce resource, right? You don't get paid according to how hard your job is. You don't get paid according to how painful or how physically demanding the job is. You only get paid according to supply and demand. I think there's been a proliferation of these types of white collar management jobs, paper pushing jobs where you sit in an air conditioned office. And frankly, I would always rather have one of those jobs than anything involving manual labor, right? But then the problem is that, a manager is kind of interchangeable, replaceable, right? Depending on the nature of the position, there are some positions where you have to be very knowledgeable, and there might be limited numbers of people who can who qualify for that position. But I guess where I'm going with this is that, it's never a question of what people deserve. It's only a question of what the invisible hand of the market is, able to provide.
Well, I was asking you earlier, like, how do you know what your value is? And the only way you're really able to determine it is by putting yourself out there.
You have to put yourself out there. You have to ask, right? And if you can bamboozle some company into giving you a 50% raise over your current job, well, then you are worth, exactly what that company is paying you, is offering you, right? I mean, that is your new worth, right?
Just my experience with employers is they just resent whoever they. I just, in my experience, I can't say this for anyone else. Is just me between college and my work experience. They just fucking hate you when you want to get paid. Like everyone just hates you. Like you're cramping everyone's style when you're asking to get paid.
Yeah. Well, when I all right, so
how about free? Can you work for free? Can you do that, please?
Well, look, but I know, I get it, but remember, these people are responsible for budgets, right? And they're answering to probably other people who are telling them, this is all the money we have. We don't have any more money, right? And so when you ask for a raise, it's an annoyance to them, right? Because now it's a problem they have to deal with. It's a headache that they didn't want. And that is their relationship with you. They are your manager, your supervisor, your boss. That's it. I mean, that's why you're together for 8 hours a day or whatever it is, because of that, working relationship. So of course, if you're bringing a headache into that, they're going to resent you for it. But they should be professional. You should always be professional about it, right? And some people are not. And some people are going to nickel and dime you. Most people don't really have a lot of insight into what other people are making or what they could make if they change their self-presentation. And so they settle for less than what they could be making, I won't say most people, but this is the situation with a lot of people.
I mean, I shouldn't say I do, but it's like my thing was and still is that I already know there's going to be someone out there that's going to want to do it for less.
Right.
That's the problem. And that's that capitalism is just a race to the bottom.
Well, but then the solution in a capitalist economy like ours is to get more education and training so you can upgrade your job responsibilities and get paid more.
Yes, obviously.
That's the flip side of it, right? I mean, it's not just a competition with others where everybody's undercutting you, right? You also have the ability to rise, but most people don't really think about rising. I know you do put effort into getting training and certification and stuff like that, which is exactly what you should be doing. And I would, this kind of goes back to my point about dealing with, the problems that are in front of your face. A lot of the guys that complain and mope and whine and bitch about the state of the world today don't actually do this, right? You ask them, well, okay, so what are you doing to solve your problem? And the answer is nothing. Right? They've decided that the problem is insurmountable and it's somebody else's fault, and that absolves them of any responsibility for having to fix it.
Are you suggesting people of a certain tribe are bringing us down? Is that what you're saying right now? I'm kidding. You walked into that one. Benjamin, bro.
Right. Do I hear a little hand rubbing in the background? Seriously. So when I took my current job, so I live in I'll just say it. I live in Miami right now.
Whoa! Spoiler alert! Plot twist.
I'm doxed
to Miami. Break it down. Welcome to Miami. I just kept playing that song every time you said the word Miami.
Well, I've never even heard that.
What, you never heard Will Smith's Miami? It's actually a pretty good song.
Oh, okay.
It's not bad. I don't know what happened to that guy. Really sad.
What did happen to him?
Isn't his son drag? Oh no, that's Dwayne Wade. There's a basketball player. Oh no, he's got a son that's like a bit of a fanoik. I think I gotta look that up now. Anyway, go on. Tell us Tell us your experiences in Dade County, bro.
I mean, it's pretty wild. There's a lot I could talk about, but
let's start off. What were let's start off. What was in like? This is the good way of punting this first. What were you expecting? Is it what you were expecting when you moved there? What dreams in your mind were not correct on your what in your imagination what Miami was not correct, and what's the biggest surprise?
Yeah, I mean, so I had been living in a small town before I moved to Miami.
What was the population? I think it was like 60,000.
I don't want to be too specific, but let's say, in the range of, in that general range.
Okay.
And there wasn't really much to do. And, I sort of bought into the meme when I moved there because I didn't grow up there. But I sort of had this idea that it would be nice to live in a small town and, I'd be a big fish in a small pond. It would be easier to meet people. My dating opportunities would be better. In a more conservative area, so maybe that would help me because I'd be more aligned with people who live there. And none of that was really true. It's extremely difficult for a guy who is not, in college, let's say, or of that age, to just move to some random town and put down roots there. It's just not going to happen unless you're very persistent. You stay there for a long time, which I wasn't willing to do because it was so boring. And I did make some friends there, some very, very nice people. I don't want to knock the experience. It was definitely interesting as a kind of life experience, but I decided to move on after about a year of living there, because it was not moving the ball forward in terms of what I wanted with my personal life. And there are some changes in my job situation as well. So I ended up moving to Miami. Now, when I moved there, I didn't really have any expectations because I didn't know anything about the city. And America's kind of funny. Like, we have these huge cities that are scattered around this, continent-sized country. And, each region of the country is almost like its own nation, right? I mean, that's how big this country is. And, there's not actually, people tend to be pretty provincial. They don't know too much about the place where they, places outside where they grew up, outside of their kind of, right, their immediate sphere of, of where they've been and the culture and the people that they know. So I didn't grow up in Florida, so I didn't know too much about it. Now, you had warned me that people in Miami are very materialistic and shallow.
Vapid.
Yeah. So I was kind of expecting that when I moved there. And I think that has proved to be true. I think most people are. Without question. But what really struck me, I guess the biggest surprise for me, was how difficult and strange it would be to try to settle down in a Hispanic-dominated environment. Like, I underestimated the importance of that. Because I've lived overseas, of course, hence my name. I've lived in Asia many years, so I'm used to being a minority, an ethnic, racial, and national minority. Living in a strange land, stranger in a strange land. I'm used to that whole experience, and I really liked it when I was in Asia. It didn't bother me at all. It was, very interesting. It's different when I'm in my own country.
Yeah.
Right? I expect as an American to feel like I'm living in America. And Miami doesn't feel like America. I mean, of course, it functions the way other cities in the U.S. do. I mean, everything is normal in the sense of, the sort of the infrastructure, the law, the regulations, all of that. I mean, the official language, of course, is Miami, so all the signs are in English. I mean, all of that is the same. It looks like an American city with palm trees. But the people that live there, of course, are 3/4 Hispanic. The dominant language is Spanish. And I think it's the only major city in the U.S. where that's the case. So it's definitely the most foreign large city in the U.S., which is kind of what interests me about it, right? Because, I mean, my main issue with living in the U.S. is that it's so damn boring, And I wanted to kind of recreate that experience of living abroad, but without actually going abroad again. But what I struggle with is relating and connecting with people in Miami because of this cultural gap. And people aren't really as friendly as I expected. I kind of thought, like, moving into Miami that I'd be, people would, I don't know. I mean, I guess I just thought that, like, as a white guy in Miami, things would be easy for me. And it's actually the opposite. I feel like a foreigner. I feel like an outsider. The native Miamians don't like outsiders very much. They feel like all these people are moving in from the Northeast, whatever. We don't like them.
It's the way I feel about Feng Sheng showing up a block over wearing fake Adidas fucking shoes and chain
Yeah.
smoking cigarettes. I get it.
Well, exactly. Except the people that the Miamians resent are Americans. They're from the same fucking country,
Right.
and they have every right to be there. I don't need papers, to cross the border, with Dade County and live there and rent an apartment there. Okay, I don't need documentation. I'm an American. I can live wherever the fuck I want. And I can speak English because this is the United States. And fortunately, not everybody, but most people understand English. I'm able to function in English. But, I can tell that it's like a real struggle for a lot of people to speak English. They would rather speak Spanish, and I suspect they would treat me better if I spoke Spanish to them. And I don't, because I can't speak Spanish. If I did speak Spanish, I would use it. So that's just like a really strange thing about Miami that is a lot more unpleasant than I thought it would be. And then of course there's tons and tons of Colombians and Venezuelans and others who live in Miami who never speak English on a day-to-day basis, right?
Yeah.
They can go a month without speaking English because everything is done in Spanish. So, I mean, it works in the context of Miami. It's a very functional city. People kind of get along and respect each other's differences. But, it's a very weird place because you have a mix of all these people from all over the world, not only Latin America. Of course, it used to be historically, of course, it was white historically. And then all the Cubans came in, right? And that was sort of the dominant Hispanic group in Miami, and I think it still is. But in recent years, there have been so many immigrants from other parts of South America that now, I'm far more likely to run into a Venezuelan or a Colombian than a Cuban. In fact, I haven't really met many Cubans at all in Miami. But that's another strange thing about the city, is that it's very sort of self-segregated by subgroup of Latino.
Yeah, so that's no different than that's not anything different than I think any. I don't think you'd experience anything different in any other megalopolis in the United States. I mean, New York, that's kind of its bread and butter, is that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the El Salvadorians and Hondurans don't live in Queens. They live out on Long Island because the Mexicans and Colombians hate them. The Colombians hate the Mexicans because they're on their turf now, right? Yeah. And then there's a new concept. I got one for you. Is that there's these other cultures that are like kind of like, and they're not leeches, but you ever see a shark and there's always like a little there's a pilot fish. You know what a pilot fish is? Okay, so there's the shark, and then there's all these other fish that follow the shark because the shark is eating the bigger food, and then the pilot fish eat the scraps from the shark. So they follow the shark around because the shark's going to eat something huge, and he's not going to eat everything. And then there's the other fish that followed along to eat the scraps.
Okay.
That's a pilot fish, basically. So the shark doesn't do anything about the pilot fish. The shark likes the pilot fish. Because they also eat parasites off the shark. So there's a couple different fish that follow the sharks around. They're called pilot fish.
Gotcha.
I don't know what the actual term, like there's different subgroups to pilot fish. Anyway, so what I realized in Queens and in New York City as a whole is that there's a main nationality, and then there's the pilot fish nationality that follow them along. So for Italians, I realized that the Albanians are like the pilot fish to the Italians. So wherever the Italians go, for whatever reason, the Albanians have to follow along. So as soon as Italians start moving into a specific neighborhood, here comes an Albanian showing up. We're friends. We're like, we're descendants of the same people, and they just start following the Italians around. Whatever, fine. Even though really not culturally, I don't really find them culturally that compatible to Italians, but a lot of Albanians speak Italian because they want to kind of follow them. Again, follow wherever the Italians go. So wherever the Mexicans go, the El Salvadorians, for whatever reason, follow the Mexicans around. The Colombians, wherever the Colombians go, Ecuadorians just happen to show up wherever the Colombians are. The Germans, wherever the Germans go, the Polacks show up. So I realized this, that wherever these certain nationalities go, there's some type of another nationality that seems to piggyback as like a subsidy of them to just follow them along. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's interesting. Yeah, I hadn't really thought of that.
So every community that I've noticed now, so there's this location called Glendale, Queens, all Germans, German restaurants, Bierflagenstagen, Dusendagen, there's fucking beer gardens, and even some of the architecture, you see, it's got that fucking, that rural German look to it, where it's like stucco on the outside, and there's like the wooden fucking logs, and it's really nice. And then just out of nowhere, there's a Polish deli starts popping up. I'm like, well, that's weird. Look at that. You go to Arthur Avenue in the Bronx, all Italian. Now you see a bunch of them Albanian flags, popping up everywhere. I'm moving to Staten Island. Staten Island, I think, is 70 or 80% Italian. And then, sure enough, there's fucking Albanian flags showing up again. I'm like, God damn, they just follow. Even in my own industry, it's like this was an Italian-dominated industry, and then Albanians started fucking dominating it. So it's just weird how there's like these again, they're not leeches. They just follow these other groups, other ethnic groups along for, I guess, because they're cooler and that's where the jobs are. That's the only thing I could think of. Something like Colombian Ecuadorians, I kind of get that one, because Ecuadorians are kind of like the retarded stepson to Colombians. Even with the Polacks, makes sense that they follow the Germans around, and it makes sense that Albanians follow the Italians around because they're across the water from one another. Albanians speak Italian, even though they're not the same religion. Every Albanian likes to tell me, Albania conquered Italy. Yeah, it was 14 AD, and it was like for 5 years. I get it, dude. Thanks for reminding me on some history, but. And I'm sure you're experiencing that in Miami. I've seen Miami's probably got a lot more different nationalities that I would never come across, like Argentinian, Brazilian. There's not that many Brazilians in New York. There are some, but not that many. You're probably gonna get people from Paraguay. You're gonna get people. Oh, I was hanging out with a dude from Paraguay today, bro. Dude, so fucking base, bro. This guy can't speak a word of English. A word of English. Guy's from Paraguay. Never met a dude from Paraguay. And I told he was actually my other coworker. He was Mexican, and he asked me through translation, "What do you know about Paraguay?" And it was pretty cool. Watch this. I told him, "What do I know about Paraguay? One is where the Bush family hides all their money, and you guys are secretly wealthy." And he goes, "Yeah, it's exactly right. It's exactly what Paraguay is. We just don't tell anybody about how wealthy we are." I go, "Yeah, that's awesome." So anyway,
interesting.
Yeah. So he's wearing a shirt, bro. He's wearing a shirt that says "Torture all pedophiles."
That's
he can't even speak a word of English. And I was just like, "Do you know what your shirt says?" He goes, "Yeah, I know what my shirt says." I go, "That's pretty cool."
Wow, that's a
pretty based
statement.
Based Paraguayan.
Yeah. Based Paraguayan.
So anyway, yeah. So like you in Miami, it's like so it's self-segregated. You're a foreigner in your own country. That's I kind of can relate because I it's all Spanish people now in New York City too, dude. It's all these little 4 foot nothing little tamale eating
Well,
Like,
but see,
a
so
lot
you
of them
don't.
are just loafing around. A lot of the guys, like, they just have these backpacks and they wear winter coats, like North Faces, and they kind of just like they walk around in like groups of 4 or 5, and they have like their headphones on. They just seem to like walk around aimlessly,
Well, they're waiting for somebody to drive by in a pickup truck and offer them, $8 to work a job or something.
I guess that sucks.
No, it's terrible. No, so you don't see too much of that in Miami, depending on the neighborhood you're in, right? I mean, the crazy thing about Miami to me is that it's like Hispanic, but it's not that, right? It's all the fancy Hispanics. It's all the, high flying, wealthy, kind of European Hispanics
Right.
from places like Argentina and Brazil and Colombia. And there are a lot of Europeans too, as well. Lots of Spanish and Italians, also lots of Russians, lots of Ukrainians, lots
Yeah,
of Eastern
Russians just
Europeans.
gravitate to wherever there's sunlight.
I think they really like it, and they're all kind of mixed together. And like in my apartment building, for example, just like on any given day, I'll see Russians, I'll see Italians, I'll see Argentinians, just a huge mix. There's a girl who lives on my floor who is from Spain, and she's attending a local college, right? And it's like, I don't know why she's living in an apartment building, but I see that kind of thing all the time, and it makes life more interesting, right? But it also makes me feel like I'm living in a foreign country. So I think that experience would be very alienating for a lot of people. For me, it's all right. But in terms of the materialism, I mean, Miami has levels of excess and kind of extravagant behavior that you don't really see anywhere else in America, in my
What, like
experience.
10,000 cc boob jobs?
I mean, like you see that all the time. You see just
It's like a Hispanic LA.
It's a lot like that.
Yeah.
You
That's what
know,
I'm picturing right now.
right, but instead of the entertainment industry, you have Instagram and OnlyFans.
There you go. Exactly.
I mean, I actually sat next to a girl at a coffee shop once who was talking to some guy. I don't know if he was like, trying to do a deal with her of some kind. I don't think it was a date, but she worked for OnlyFans, and she was giving the rundown on how it works. How much her models get paid, and it was just crazy. I mean, the numbers she was throwing out there were just absolutely ridiculous. They have some kind of like junket that they do with their top creators that they all go to fucking Bali or whatever, take them on a big trip. But I mean, she was talking about models that were making I think like 100 grand a month type money. And she was sort of bragging about this in the coffee shop, and that's like a totally normal Miami occurrence, right? I mean, you wouldn't have that kind of thing in New York or Chicago, but in Miami, it's considered just normal because everything is so crazy there. The behavior of the people, I mean, a lot of it has to do with not so much Hispanic culture, but this elitist or this I don't know what the word is for it. See, I'm struggling to kind of explain this. I'm not really doing
No,
a very
well,
good job.
I'll build upon it. So,
But no, but I want to. So like as an anecdote, right? So I'm with a friend, white guy, and we're at a hotel bar, and there's some kind of party going on. And so we're leaving the bar, we're sort of leaving the pool area and going inside. And these three girls, these, hot girls, probably foreign, are entering the pool area. So my friend holds the door open for them, right? So he's standing on one side holding the door. I'm standing on the other side, watching this whole thing. And these three girls walk through. Not one of them acknowledges either of us, right? Not one of them says thank you or even like nods or smiles at us. Like we're not even there. Like we're just fucking ushers that aren't even human, right? And I just thought that was such a weird, but revealing little microcosm of the attitudes in this city. Like I never really experienced that kind of thing in New York, for example. people are a lot nicer in New York. In fact, sometimes they're too nice. They're fucking cringeworthy. I mean, the way that they, this sort of like effeminate, mincing way of talking to people. I hate that. Over communicating, apologizing all the time, saying thank you 8 different ways. It's like, you don't need to do that, right? But in Miami, it's on the other side, where they have this much more, to me, very alien and foreign way of communicating. It's very laconic. They don't use a lot of words. Maybe they're not comfortable speaking English, but sometimes they won't even acknowledge you. They won't say hi to you. They won't say thank you, because to them, you're just scum. Like, and the thing that's crazy about it for me, right, is that I was there with my friend. We're both very well dressed, right? We're both, I think, reasonably good looking.
Yeah.
It didn't count for anything. It didn't matter, right? We are dirt.
I told you, remember
feeling of being treated like that is very unfamiliar to me.
I told you we were supposed to do that social experiment where we were gonna get that fucking tattoo maker and put neck tat. You remember that? We were gonna do that. We're gonna dress like thugs. We're gonna get neck tattoos. Maybe you look pretty cool with a teardrop underneath your eye, and just talk like you have an IQ of an aspiring rapper, and see if we get laid that way. I'll have a flat brim hat and over XXL fucking Nike fucking sweatshirt. Yeah, go on.
No, I mean, at this point, I'd be willing to try. Well, not at this moment, but I'm sort of filing that away for future reference, future experimentation. But it's really difficult, it's just it's really hard to be taken seriously by anyone. It's because of this attitude, this kind of like sociopathic, just contempt. And so my friend in Miami thinks that this is partly racial. He thinks a lot of it is that, so he believes that people respond negatively to him simply because he looks like he votes for Trump. That's his hypothesis.
Okay.
Looks like he looks like a guy who's probably conservative and votes for Trump. So I don't really know what to make of that, but he's lived there for a while and he's confident that this is the case. He thinks that there was a change in the mood when Trump was elected. He thinks everything changed in 2016 and there was this, sudden hostility that he had not experienced before. So that might be a factor here. I certainly have detected, I don't want to say hostility, but there's just a lot of racial awareness. I mean, I get comments like, "Oh, that's so white, you're so white." And it's like, I don't really appreciate that, right? Because first of all, it's very strange to me. I was never told that I'm so white growing up. I mean, I've always thought of myself as American. And
you don't see color. Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah, right. No, that's exactly what I'm saying.
The same.
Race doesn't exist. No, but I mean, the people I was surrounded with were all white, pretty much. So I mean, that's the default. Right? I mean, of course I'm fucking white. I'm American. Like most of us are white. But now, I almost feel like I'm put in a defensive position about my race. People will make these comments, not necessarily with malicious intent, but they make these comments that sort of elevate race into a central issue, which it's not for me. I don't make that an issue in my conversations with people, right? But they do. So that's a very weird thing that I see in Miami, but it's also nationwide too. I mean, just this casual acceptance of the idea that it's okay to say, "Oh, you're so white." I don't think that's cool, right? I think that should be discouraged. I've been called a gringo, affectionately, but I don't appreciate that, right? And I'll complain about it sometimes, and they'll say, "Oh no, don't worry about it." No, it's
well, that goes. This kind of circles back to a lot of kind of what I've mentioned on this show is like you can't identify with white. It's like it's just it's a lose lose. It's a rock and a hard place. Like what does that mean? Are you like if someone calls me white? My first reaction is, oh, so I'm the same as a hillbilly in Alabama? Is that what you're telling me right now? Because last time I checked, my hair's pretty fucking black, and my eyes are shit brown. And if I sit out in the sun long enough, I'm equally as dark as you.
Well, of course. I mean, that would be a logical answer. But my response has always been that, you know, how you are identified is determined by other people. So if they choose to see you as white, if they want to put you in that box, well, sorry, whether you like it or not, you're in that box.
All right, fine.
Right.
I'm
And that's just
better.
kind of, well, and it's fine. I mean, so my whole thing is just complete indifference. I mean, I just kind of smile and nod and, make a joke about it, whatever. It's like, don't give a shit if you're going to call me white.
What's white? Do I eat fucking
some sort
apple
of,
pie and go to McDonald's?
right. I mean, I just always act the way that is normal for me. I act according to my principles and my internal sense of who I am. That's all that matters to me. I do not give a shit what other people think about me or what they call me.
Well, don't be the guy at the end of Sand Pebble, bro.
Well, why would I be?
Just don't be that guy. I'm one of you. I have papers here signed by the communist regime.
Oh no, he's right. So that guy at the end of the movie Sand Pebbles, was a true believer, a communist, right?
He's there to help.
Yeah, and in the end, he realized it.
Well, he got
didn't
blown
fuck that.
away. And Steve McQueen, really died in vain trying to help the thought.
Man. You just gave away the ending.
I'm sorry. He saved a woman who wound up starring in a TV sitcom of a single, childless, barren fucking office worker.
Oh well, so that is a good segue into our next major topic here.
The fucking like, yeah, dude. I don't. It's like I'm thinking like Oh, what happened? I got snarled at by a woman in scrubs. That was an experience.
Scrubs.
Yeah, like I'm realizing with certain industries that women work in are the types you seriously want to avoid. Women that are working in the medical industry,
Yep.
Who are not nurses. Let's say if they're receptionists or coders, a lab technician, ones that don't have a nursing or actual doctor's degree are women you would want to avoid.
Oh, really? See, I would think it's the other way around.
Well, they're all catty, they're all hive-minded, right?
Yeah.
They're all drinking chai lattes and frappuccinos. In their mind, it's coffee. Meanwhile, it has triple the amount of sugar than a can of Coke. But you see, because it's got the word tea in it, it must be healthy. Meanwhile, you're basically sucking down fucking pure diabetes. So they just sit in office chairs, drinking coffee mate, trying to fuck the doctor. So that's one industry. What's some other industries? That'd be my biggest one. Paralegal.
What's your take on veterinarians?
Oh, dude, that's fucking. Come on, fucking. If they're an actual veterinarian, I'll give them credit because that means you went. Like, if you're a nurse veterinarian, then you got, you're just a glorified dog sitter.
Well, that's what I ran into this fucking just crazy.
Do tell.
In Miami. No, she's like she's not an actual veterinarian. She's like a veterinary nurse or something.
There you go. She's a dog sitter. Go on.
It's just a completely toxic person. I mean, really, just likes to play mind games. First of all, likes to talk about dogs just nonstop.
Start from the top. How did it go down without giving too much
detail?
God.
So she lives in a neighboring building to mine. And I met her through a mutual friend.
She's in District 1B.
Cell block C.
Some
Block C. No, I mean really.
She's in Tower 1B. I'm in Tower 1A. We make love.
The West Wing.
We enjoyed goulash.
Yeah. No, I mean these are nice. These are nice buildings. I think hers is arguably nicer than mine for certain reasons, but anyway, right. So she's making more money. Well, okay, I don't want to go there, but anyway, she I don't know how much money she's actually making, right? Because also, I mean, with these women, I don't know who's paying their rent. And that's the thing in Miami is that you can
Daddy,
never woman.
Daddy's paying. Okay, go on.
Yeah, no, I mean, so like I was introduced to this woman, and it was me and her and a couple other friends. And we kind of hit it off. I mean, she was talking about dogs a lot with this other girl who was also a dog owner. And I just can't participate. I have nothing to contribute in those discussions.
Right.
Because I just don't own a dog. I don't like dogs all that much. My family owns dogs. I like those dogs. But I just can't. I mean, there's only so much I can say about it. I mean, they're very simple animals. They're very repetitive and predictable in their behavior. Right? I mean, it gets tiresome after a while to think about. So anyway, I got her number and then I asked her out, the next day or something for drinks. And then she's like, yeah, I can go to dinner with you. And I'm thinking, well, okay, I didn't ask you to dinner. Right? So that was like the first kind of weird thing. And then we agreed on a time and place. And then she stood me up. She canceled. She said she had too much to do with work. She got, held back at the office, at the clinic. And so I'm like, fine, whatever. I don't care. But then later that night, she invited me to meet with her and one of her girlfriends who wanted to go out for the night. Wanted to go out in the town and meet some guys or whatever. So, I stupidly agreed and I went and met them for a drink, thinking that they would invite me out with them, right? Which they didn't. They sent me back to my apartment, after one drink. So that was kind of weird. I never made that mistake again. But, the point is, like, she kept playing these types of games with me. She'd invite me out and then disappear. Just very toxic behavior, just very bizarre, but some women are like this. They're just fucked in the head and they like to play mind games because it amuses them. They like to see men dance, when they snap their fingers. I think that's all it is. It gives them a rise. And I've met a number of women who have that personality in Miami. And it's very disturbing, I mean, it's just part of being a guy, I guess, if you, quote unquote, put yourself out there and, and just be genuine and be yourself. I mean, this is what's going to happen to you. You're going to get sort of played with by these types of women. And you have to learn to identify them very early on and then just instantly walk away. So I'm becoming very intolerant, is, the too long didn't read version of this, that, as soon as I spot mental illness, I run away. But it's a very important skill to have. You got to be able to.
Yeah, I tend to. I've always avoided women that seem just lukewarm in general.
Well, exactly. Yeah, because if they're lukewarm, then it's an uphill battle.
Right.
You're going to have headaches. They're going to, they're going to have really high expectations. They're going to be very high maintenance.
You're trying to chase a deer. You ever try chasing a deer? Or try to get close to a deer? They're eating, they're out in the wild, and you come up along with it, and they just stare at you, and they just take off running.
Well, right. You're chasing shadows,
Right.
You're trying to nail a jellyfish to the wall.
And those type of women are the rats in the behavioral sink to kind of truncate it. These are the women that have there's a couple of different things. One is they're too busy, so they're distracted by everything around them, whether it's their phone, whether it's their job, whether it's their doggy, whether it's their girlfriends, and then on top of that, it's how many other men are chasing after that woman. So it's kind of difficult for you to break that mold to try to draw the attention to you.
It's extremely difficult.
Right. I think you've mentioned in the past it's more or less that you'd have to break certain social codes to get her to notice you. Now, my experience breaking those social codes would be either being brutally obnoxious, boorish, and abrasive and kind of condescending and disrespectful. And then they tend to fucking remember you much better because most women will remember negative moments easier. It'd be easier to recall negative emotions when they encounter someone than positive emotions. So the second time around you meet them and you actually do a complete 180 and you become really nice to them, this, that, and the other. You treat them like you're a friend, and then you go apart your merry way. But that initial point of attention was negative, and they tend to remember you in a much a better light. Now I'll bring up something that I actually haven't mentioned since that I did that chat with Stefan Molyneux. So obviously you guys know that my my former what have you in Asia, she remembered me because I took her friend out and not her. And not to get too specific. So whatever year, what was it? About a year and a half later, after I first met her, I saw her at sitting outside a club. She was having something to eat and a beer, and I was with my buddy, and I'm like, oh my god, remember her? We were playing pool with that girl when I came here as a tourist. And I went up to her and I started talking to her. And mind you, it's a year and a half. The only interaction I had with this woman up until that point was from a year and a half ago playing pool with her, where I wound up, sleeping with her friend and not her. And she was kind of, I guess, kind of pissed off that, I went with her friend and not her. And she goes, yeah, I remember you. And she actually recalls everything that happened that night from a year and a half ago. So I was like, wow.
Yeah.
You remember all of that from me, a fucking tourist from a year and a half ago, just hanging out, playing pool for a half hour. And then she wound up becoming my girlfriend.
Yeah.
So she remembers the negative.
Right, because that was a moment where you sort of displayed higher value.
Correct.
DHV, as they call it in the good old PUA community.
That was another time.
But it just really doesn't come naturally to men, right? It's very hard for a nice guy to do that.
Yeah, another time, I was at a bar, and there's a beautiful, beautiful woman at the bar, gorgeous. And I didn't think I had I didn't think I had a Hail Mary's fucking pass in the fourth quarter with 2 seconds left, down by 7. I was gonna fucking hook up with a chick. So I didn't even acknowledge her existence, and I went for like a fucking frumpy, wall hitting 37-year-old single mom. And I just started having a great time with this woman. And this other one, the very attractive one, sees this, pissed off, that I didn't even give a glance at her. Give a glance. And then she just started she started zoning me and stuff, and started becoming very vulgar and sexual and things that she was saying. I was like, God damn, what the hell is this? What's gotten into you? And sure enough, she was interested because I was totally uninterested in her.
Yep. You friend zoned her.
So, I had one friend who was a bit of a sex addict, and think we're in our early 20s, and I was just like, I was, I don't know if I was asking for pointers. I'm trying to recall how it went down. We were at a bar, and he was like, talk to the fat and ugly one. Don't even acknowledge the pretty one. Just go and talk to the fat. And I'm like, really? He goes, yes, works every time. Sure enough, he's just heaping all his attention on a woman who would no man in his right mind would chuck it up and have a laugh with. And sure enough, maybe like a half hour, 45 minutes later, here they come. The attractive ones are in the orbit, and he's looking at me. He goes, you see, now look at the attention we're getting. I was like, God damn, that actually really worked. Now, mind you, that's like when I was in my early 20s, and that's before social media, but I'm sure a lot of the rules still stand.
Yeah. Well,
Or
I think,
or you can spend $500 a month and get a Tinder subscription.
oh my gosh, yeah, the Tinder Elite or whatever it's called. Well, I wonder how much these things have changed. I mean, it really does seem like a lot of like the basic principles are always the same, but a lot of the tactics have changed. I mean, like, you described this beautiful woman that you met at the bar. Now, how long ago was that?
8 years ago, I guess.
So my experience has been that when I try to pull that move, it just results in being ignored, right? Maybe it comes across that it's obvious what I'm doing,
Yeah, probably.
right? So that's my only objection to that, is that by focusing on the other one, the hot girl has no reason to even talk to you.
Or again, they have
But
so much cock in front of their face.
well, I think that's what it is. I mean, these women today, you just get the sense that they just don't like men very much, and I think they're I try to put myself in their shoes and understand the world through their fucked up eyes, which is very difficult. But I think they just have a perceived overabundance complex.
And most men are just total or total like. Look, I was like some coworker. I think I was. Yeah, this is back in when I was in the South, and my coworker's just showing me what her matches like on websites were, and I'm like, oh my god, that is just brutal, brutal, brutal. And a lot of guys, uh, I think a lot of the average guy. I don't want to say put no effort into things, but look, I think Hell by the Dashboard Live, who you don't really know who that is. I listen to his streams because they're entertaining, and he gives really good social commentary. He observes a lot of the things that I observe 100%. And I started taking away a lot of things that he had to say, like, go out. Just go out and look at the city sidewalk. Bro, it's all fucking middle-aged men dressed like fucking hobos. Sweatpants, beat the shit
Yeah.
shoes.
Oh yeah.
Really just giving up on life, right? You either get that type of guy,
Yep.
or you get a guy who's extremely vain and narcissistic, or he's staring himself in the mirror all day long.
I mean, it is in some ways the competition is easier than ever because I mean, the
Right.
guy, right? I mean, there's so
You
many
would
guys just
think.
beaten down by life. You would think, and yet you're not only competing with real men, you're also competing with virtual men. I mean, you're competing with all of the
You're
real or
competing with married
perceived.
men. You're
You're
competing with
competing.
boomer.
You are competing with boomers, which is a really strange thing to see. But women, it's not that they have so many options. It's that they think they do, and social media creates this illusion in their minds, and so they have this like unjustified abundance mindset. And so they're fed up with men. They don't want more men. They would rather be alone. They would rather be at home with their dogs, their Netflix, and their ice cream.
Yep.
They would rather have a girls' night out or brunch with their friends on Sunday.
They got
Fucking
their
bottomless
dildos, they got their
mimosas.
vibrators, they got their toys.
They have all of that, and they have this constant electronic stimulation, uh, you know, from the apps, from their entertainment, their dating apps. I mean, the dating apps, I think, in particular, have had such a destructive effect on this whole dynamic, because women just open those apps and they get inundated with men that are trying to match with them, and they lose all perspective about it also, right? So you see this when women project their situation onto men. They try to give advice to men, right? And they'll say like, oh, well, just, just put yourself out there, just go out and date that nice girl. And it's like, no, you don't understand. Like I don't have that option. You do. So you think that men have the same option that you do. But yeah, I mean, the dating apps give women the illusion that they have tons of good options, that the perfect man is out there somewhere. They just have to keep looking, right? And then they get this constant validation.
Scrotal on scrotal.
Yeah, I mean, so from what, whatever, how many matches they're getting, how many notifications, scores every day of men, basically hitting on them in virtual form. And before the apps, I don't know that would really be the
No.
case, right? I mean, obviously men would hit on them in real life, but the apps have multiplied it probably tenfold.
Right. So because of the apps, they're not actually looking for real men in reality. They don't even acknowledge the guy in the street. They make no eye contact, so on and so forth.
Which you would think should actually give men an advantage if they're willing, if they have the stones to approach women.
No, because they're getting that validation through social media. It's their pornography. Social media, yeah. Instagram, the amount of likes that they get is their pornography.
It's crazy how many likes women get, and they don't have to do anything, right? I mean, they literally just have to be attractive. And I mean, it actually disgusts me now when I see it. I see a pretty girl who is otherwise nice, and there's no problem with her, but she'll post a photo on Instagram of just herself, in a dress or something, like a cocktail dress at a party, and she'll get like 269 likes. And it's, well, for what? Like, what value are you providing here? It's not even a great photo. It's just simply a picture of you in a dress. I mean, I find that just so disgusting. Of course, I never like those types of photos. I'm not going to be a simp. But this needs to be discouraged. Men have to stop doing this. We have to stop feeding the beast.
The guys are still gonna go on OnlyFans and shit like that. Only scams.
And men are
no sense. There's no need for you to fucking pay fucking a subscription when the shit's so free and abundant. Doesn't make any sense to me.
Men really have to be more.
Yeah, but well, I mean, easier. Think how much easier it is to do that than it is to actually approach a woman in fucking public. You see, that's kind of it's what is it? Not the bar, but what is it? What's the game you play when you bend backwards?
Oh,
what is it?
Yeah. Limbo? No.
Yeah, it's limbo. Thank you. Yeah. All right, so it's this game of limbo that everyone can fucking play limbo and not hit the fucking pole.
But it's going to get you nowhere. I mean, I really do think that, I mean, there's something to be said for, like, if you go back like 20 years and you read all the old PUA material, the game forums, I think it was like, well, obviously, you have like Chateau Heartiste, you have Roosh, who I guess shut down his site or whatever. You have I think it was PUAforums.com. They've changed their domain since then, but there's just a lot of good advice. And of course, that book, The Game by Neil Strauss. There's a lot of timeless advice and principles that I think still apply. And of course, all that stuff, most of that stuff was written before the advent of social media. And I think there needs to be a return to that. I think men have to kind of rediscover that material, and they have to try to approach women in real life, as inconvenient and scary as it may be. I think it's important, to kind of punch through this veil of illusions and lies that the internet has created. You want to try to meet women on a level where you can display who you are. I mean, your full personality, right? Your character, your personality, your habits, everything about you is manifested, at a glance when you meet somebody in real life, right? So if you're a lazy degenerate, that's going to be apparent, right? If you take care of yourself, if you eat healthy, if you work out, that'll show as well. If you're confident, if you're bold, right? If you're witty, that will be evident, when you talk to somebody in real life. And so, for me, it's very hard to try to meet a strange woman through an app, through the internet, because I can't express my personality and, the fullness of who I am through that online medium. I can only do it in real life. I think if you have, if you have some confidence, if you have a sense of humor, if you don't take things too seriously, you stand up straight, you don't look like a slouching, broken down fucking loser. Obviously, you have to dress well. You have to be in shape. Then, I think you can actually get numbers from women. The problem is, getting a number doesn't mean anything anymore.
Right. I explained that to you.
So that's why you have to do more than just get the number. You have to actually agree to a time and place.
I think just being honest. I think that obviously my current situation and how I reapproached it was to just drop the ego and just let it fly and just don't expect it to go anywhere, and it winds up leading you down a specific path. You're like, oh wow, this turned
That's a good
out
way
to
to put it.
be something that I was not expecting. Then
Drop the ego. It's
here's
very
the
important.
problem, right? Now it's like because I'm obviously seeing someone for a while now, in 2023, about to be 2024. So where I'm at, it's like, oh wow, I'm breaking records now. It's okay, you're in my life now. Okay, you want me to do a lot of stuff that I'm really not. I'm not gonna do, really, because and I lay it out why I'm not doing X, Y, and Z. And explain. Listen, this is my philosophy on life. This is what I want to do. I'm happy doing what I'm doing. I'll make tweaks and minor adjustments here and there, but I'm not going to. I've already accept. The cast has been set. The cast has been
Yeah.
set. Right. This is the mold I'm in. Okay. Me, buying $1 million house with doggies and a BMW M series. That's never going to be my life. I've accepted that. I've had this conversation with you. We've accepted certain things about the reality of the world. I'm not playing victim. This is not a me problem. This is not a me problem. Okay, this is more of a societal problem. I'm not. Mount Everest is there. I could climb it, but the chances are I'm going to die climbing it. And then for what? Why am I going to scale that fucking mountain? There's no benefit me in scaling that mountain right now. If you would have asked me that when I was in my early 20s, I would have scaled that mountain. 36-year-old me, not scaling the mountain.
Right.
And where is what is the cost benefit for me to doing a bunch of shit? I was doing some math. I was telling you, okay, if I want to retire right now, with inflation the way it is, with the way the economy is, with the money printing going burr the way it is, I would need to save $2,000 every month till I'm the age of 60.
Yeah.
Now, that's for me to stop working at 60 and plan on dying by the time I'm 85. And that's me moving to Southeast Asia. That's not me living in the United States. So I'm adjusting fire. Where can I retire, live a nice life, and be done? Okay, $2,000 a month.
Mm-hmm.
Starting today, I gotta save $2,000 a month. Not accounting of inflation, where money's going to be in 25, 30 years. Is that reasonable? That you can't do that. Okay, you put it in a Vanguard. You put it in this, that, and the other. Okay, that's not guaranteed. Now your money's tied up into something else that you can't touch. So your money's now locked up to try to ride out inflation. You can't touch it. Okay.
Well, you touch it when you retire.
Okay, but let's just say you have another fucking. Let's say you have an '08 situation 10 years from now, gone. Right? Now, granted, what happened in '08, you would have bought the dip. You'd be riding pretty high right now.
Oh, okay.
But the future's unwritten. Yeah, so, and then obviously I don't want to talk about what has transpired between 2020 and 2022, but that really set a lot of it. Again, cast has been dyed. That solidified a lot of my political stance and political views that, okay, that really just happened. Holy shit, I was right this entire time. I'm going to keep doing what it is I'm doing and accept reality for what it is.
Yeah.
Like the whole American dream. Okay, granted, a lot harder. I get it, but it's only getting harder to sustain that lifestyle. And if you're sustaining that lifestyle, to what benefit? Is it really truly to your benefit? Talking to my best friend, makes a shit ton of money. Okay. And he was breaking it out for me. He goes, look how much money I'm making. How much different is my life compared to yours? I go, actually, we do the same exact fucking thing. I go, exactly. Okay, I have a couple nice cars. I have a nice house. But you know what all that is? It's all stress. It's more shit to break. It's more fucking problems for me. Remember me going back to the whole car thing. He bought a Range Rover. Cool truck, by the way. Bought a Range Rover. I'm in the car with him. The dashboard's not on. The whole dashboard is black. And I'm like, why can't we play the radio and why can't we see your odometer? He goes, dude, I have to get a subscription to get it turned back on. I go, what the fuck are you talking about? He goes, oh, yeah, a subscription. I have to give them $600 to turn my fucking dashboard back on.
Wow.
I'm like, that's insane.
What a stupid thing. I would never buy a car.
Well, he wasn't expecting something like that. He thought. I'm assuming I should circle back and ask him a little bit about it. But in his experience with cars, that's something that would seem unthinkable. That I wouldn't be able to play my own radio until I put money in the coin slot to turn it back on for something that I already paid for.
No, I mean that's bonkers. Well, the new cars now. I mean, you have to be very careful. I think. I'm not a car person, but I was driving a new car recently. I think it was trying to remember what make and model, but anyway, it had one of those systems apparently that can detect your eye movements, and so if you look down at your phone while you're driving, it beeps at you, and it says eyes on the road.
Oh, thank you, car.
Yeah, I experimented, and I was wondering, like how does it know that my eyes aren't on the road? Is because am I driving erratically? So then I started like deliberately driving erratically, and the warning didn't go on. But every time I looked down at my phone, I got the warning again.
So now let's go down the rabbit hole. Now that car reported to the insurance company. And now your insurance exactly. Goes up. Right?
Eminence of I mean that's what they're going to try to do, right? Because everything has to be measured, everything has to be reported and quantified, and then it has to, be used against you somehow.
Technoborg.
No, I mean it's horrible. But going back to like the issue of oh God, what were we talking about?
Go on, keep talking. I'm gonna grab something to drink. 1 second.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Keep ranting.
Well, yeah, I'll keep a rambling. I was gonna say I completely forget what you left at the worst possible moment, because like it's the only moment that I can't remember what I wanted to say. But we were talking about sort of investment strategies and saving up and all that. Oh, right. So yeah, I wanted to say that like there's this idea of the upper middle class or the upper middle income trap that once you reach a certain level of income, it's actually detrimental to your quality of life and your psychological well-being until you get really rich. So the best place to be in America today is either, poor or very wealthy. Yeah, I was talking about the.
Really
did you hear what I was saying? Or,
what were you saying? Sorry.
I was talking about the upper middle class trap, that it's actually better to be either poor or very wealthy than to be upper middle class.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, because you have
exactly my point.
You're working so hard, you have so much stress, you have all these expenses because of where you live, and you have to send your kids to certain schools and so on. At that point, it's like, yeah, I mean, obviously, if you have $100 million, life is a lot easier, and you should prefer that. But the upper middle class doesn't have that. They can't even afford things that you could afford if you were a millionaire in, Mexico or something, right? You can't afford like a live-in maid, like ever in America, unless you're very, very wealthy, right? You're actually living. I mean, your lifestyle is like that of any middle class person, except that maybe you have a bigger house, you have nicer toys, but otherwise you're just working harder and you're more stressed out. So it's like, well, why not just kind of keep your income? Obviously, you never want to try to lower your income, but instead of getting on that hamster wheel in the first place, just simplify, cut your costs to the bone, live in a part of the country where things are affordable, which is most of the country, by the way. It's just that most of the people live in these expensive, dense urban areas. But when you get outside of those, things are really cheap. I mean, if you look at the home prices throughout most of the country, it's really not that bad. And you can live in a trailer in the middle of Arizona and raise kids quite easily, and you can, live off government handouts.
Yeah, but you already know she doesn't want that. She wants to be in the urban area. She wants to be part of that lifestyle, that elite, that type of. She can't. She'll never. It's like a girl in high school. Okay, the guy who gets the car first gets the checks. Now she doesn't want to date the guy with a bicycle, right? It's the same. It's the same thing. I think me and you were kind of discussing a little bit about people in your own life, and even in my own life, where I have an aunt that drove my uncle. He's fallen apart to sustain her lifestyle, and she can't ever go back. She can't downsize. She can't go backwards. She lives in a very affluent part of the United States, and her idea of going to live a more simple life just doesn't compute. It's unacceptable. It's non-negotiable. It's like that scene in Any Given Sunday where I sent that clip to you where Dennis Quaid is kind of like his character is loosely based off of Dan Marino toward the tail end of Dan Marino's career, and he's like, I'm done. I want to retire. I'm my body's shot. My body's given out, and I've achieved a lot being an NFL quarterback. It's time for me to give it up. And the wife just goes ballistic, slaps him, saying, "You're the star of the show. You're the captain of the football team, and I don't want to be seen with someone who's retired and now a broadcaster for Monday Night Football, whatever it might be." You have that with a lot of American women, where American women just cannot ever think about a more simpler life. They just want more. Their insatiable appetite for more shit,
and
more
here's the crazy
status.
And the crazy thing about it, right? I mean, and all this would make sense, throughout 99% of history, where having more, could mean, the difference, the difference between living or dying, right? The difference between starving or, having, I mean, even more recently, right? It could mean the difference between having climate control or not, having a car or not having a car. But now, I mean, just everybody has these things, right? I mean, the baseline has been adjusted so high,
right,
that it's all right. I mean, the stuff that people compete over, or the stuff that they attach status and significance to, is really so unimportant, right? So I mean, you think about all the people. I mean, one of the reasons that home prices are so high is because houses now are much bigger than they used to be. Okay, the average square footage of a house is much larger, and of course they're more modern and they're nicer. I mean, I guess that's debatable, but they have these like luxury finishes in the kitchen that you never used to have in the average American home.
Yeah, every modern house has a granite countertop.
You got to have the granite countertops. You got, and I think women are the primary drivers behind this. And they force their husbands to sink all this money into, houses and renovations that they don't really need because, I've got to have the nicest kitchen. I've got to have an updated kitchen and bathroom. And the reality is you don't, right? And if men, didn't have wives that were egging them on, they probably wouldn't invest that kind of money for the most part.
Yeah.
Because they don't give a shit. Like, I don't care what my bathroom looks like. As long as it's comfortable and clean. I don't need to have, a fucking glass, wall, for a shower, right? I just need a normal shower.
Yeah, you just need a shower curtain. Doesn't need to be made of glass.
Yeah.
I don't need a mosaic wall tile in my bathroom.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, come to think of it, the glass shower.
No doubt, it is nice. I'm not denying that.
Because I've had that also. Like when I lived in Asia, I mean, I had apartments that they had that.
So I'm in the middle of I'll make an announcement. So I'm in the middle of closing on a bug cave.
All right. Congratulations.
Yeah, I'm very happy. It's not necessarily where I thought I'd ever wind up moving to, but it is in New York City. And it's a small apartment, but I bought it. It's geez.
Nice.
No, I showed you pictures. I am seeing photos too, and some of the people in the Telegram group. I'm really happy about it. Parking was unnecessary for me. I need to have parking, especially living in New York City, because parking is non-existent. So I was able to find a place with parking. It's on a dead end, and I'm looking at Lower Manhattan from the water. Fucking fantastic.
That's really cool.
This is what I dreamed of. All I dreamed about was a water view where I can podcast and drink a coffee and complain about fucking brown people and gay people. That was my dream, damn it. Okay? And I'm joking, obviously. But yeah, that's what I want. I really wanted to be on the beach, but because of COVID, all the fucking yuppies and shit moved out to areas where I wanted to live, so they drove up home prices where I wanted to be. But hey, listen, I'm in the city. I got my water view. It's very nice. So naturally, everyone, obviously, people around me, are like, well, it's small. Is it really what you want? Is this? I'm like, listen, there's nothing else available. Anything else that is remotely like this is going to be upwards of $600,000 to $700,000. I can't afford that. I don't want to afford that. I don't want to chase anymore. I don't want to chase these big city dreams anymore. I'm done. I'm exhausted. Again, I honestly was that person. That was the before times.
Yeah.
Remember those days, expat, me and you, having chicken parm, getting sloshed before COVID?
The good old days.
The good old days.
Good old days of like 2019.
Remember Ginger Man?
Yeah.
Doesn't exist anymore.
Oh, really?
No, it's long gone. It got closed down like everything else. But the point is
New
like,
York, I just want to interject a little, on a speaking of things that closed down. So there's this bar I used to go to in Manhattan, from time to time called the Blue Bar. And it was
tell the story. This is good. This is a good one.
Yes. So it was attached to the Algonquin Hotel, which is this, famous historic hotel in Midtown Manhattan that has cafe in the lobby, and all these like literary hotshots from the New Yorker magazine used to eat there. And they had like the Algonquin Round Table, it was called, and they would meet and have drinks and talk about literature and all that stuff. So it's a very historic institution. And the Blue Bar was sort of, in the same building. And it was just the most amazing, classy, just cool bar. And they had these lights that cast like a blue shade over everything. I mean, it was literally blue. The entire interior was blue because of these lights. But it was just so classy and refined and awesome. It was just this like sort of prototypical Manhattan experience. And I used to go there, and then COVID shut it down, and it underwent quote unquote renovations. And I don't know if this was planned before COVID or not, but when it reopened, they closed the original bar, and now it's just some shitty fucking countertop in the lobby of the Algonquin Hotel. It's a hotel lobby countertop, and they're still calling it the Blue Bar. You have to change the name. I'm sorry, it's not the Blue Bar anymore. But it's just like, why can't we have nice things, Why do all the things we care about have to be taken away? But I guess that's the way of the world. Anyway, go on.
No, it's there's obviously you're getting less and it's costing more. You're getting
exactly.
shittier service, you're getting a shittier atmosphere at a shittier place, your portions are smaller. I can't going out to eat's like fuck. I can't believe like the prices of just going out to eat. I went out to eat for my birthday at a restaurant that I frequent maybe once a year for like the past 10 years, give or take,
Yeah.
right? And I haven't been there since before COVID. And bro, I mean, it was me and my partner, my domicile companion. I wanted to take her there.
I don't call it your partner.
I'm not calling her partner. I call it domicile companion.
Good
That's what
Lord.
I call her. Yeah. And
Don't do that.
you like that one? Is
Partner.
identify?
I don't know. I mean, that's another thing that it's just like, how can men call their girlfriends their partners? Like what kind of a man are you? Anyway.
I can't. She's not a girl, so I'm not calling her girlfriend because that sounds just stupid when you're in your 30s.
I don't know. I mean, girlfriend works.
Yeah, she's not a girl though. Woman
Yeah,
friend.
but she hasn't been a girl since she was 18.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, but you can still, I mean, you can have a 25-year-old girlfriend.
It's because it's nice and fresh.
No, I think girlfriend is perfectly fine.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, it's like we don't have a good word for it. We never developed a good word for it because this situation is historically unprecedented.
Right.
Right? It's like it's either your fucking wife or your fiance or that's it, your lover. I mean, but if you're not in love with her, you can't call her your lover.
So, so anyway, we go to. I had a veal. She had a chicken parm. I had one glass of wine. She had a Diet Coke, and we had a salad, and it was $160.
That's just preposterous.
That's the point. Yep, exactly.
Yeah, I went out and had a chicken sandwich at this place. It was like $13.
Poor you.
No, it was a good chicken sandwich, but yeah, I mean these prices, and it's spreading also. It's spreading to other parts of the country. It's not just these kind of high-priced metros, but I really think it's. I mean, in theory, it should force people to just stay home and cook more, but it seems that people just keep coming out for more of the same. A lot of these bars and restaurants are packed. And it goes back to our conversation about like, where is all this money coming from? How are people affording this?
Well, there's no price discovery in things. You don't know the true value of stuff. One is for that restaurant, for example. Okay, so it's post COVID. Okay, I didn't take any of it home. I ate all of it straight up. So I'm already pissed that I wasn't able to take any of this home. I wasn't it was about $40 overpriced overall.
Yep.
I was looking I was expecting a bill about 110, 120. Anyway, so because everything's on debt, everything's on credit. You have no true price discovery because everyone's just racking up, they're cashing checks that their ass can't cash. Is that what it is? Cashing checks that
They're
their ass
writing
can't
checks.
cash. Pardon?
They're writing checks.
They're writing checks that their ass can't cash. Thank you. So there's that. And then what are you really paying for? You're paying that restaurant's rent.
Yeah.
Right. So I was really upset.
Just going to be hot.
She was like, "Damn, that was kind of expensive for something we didn't even take any. We didn't take any of it home." So
yeah.
yeah,
No, I know. I mean, it's you got to kind of just shake it off. I've had moments like that in Miami.
How did
where it's
brunch become so popular?
Women.
Yep. And what is brunch for? Does anybody know the history of brunch?
No.
It was for when everyone was out partying, drinking the night before. You missed breakfast, so you had brunch.
Ah, interesting.
For the upper middle class. See, the bourgeois class got to enjoy brunch. Now brunch is for the woman with a neck tattoo who's on welfare.
I don't know. Is she really having brunch?
I don't know. I'm being facetious, obviously. Facetious.
Yeah, I think a lot of what we're describing is still, confined largely to the upper middle class. This type of behavior.
Is it though? I guess you're right.
Let's
see.
I mean,
the history of brunch. I'm going to look that one up. Go on, I'm listening.
History of brunch. Yeah, I mean, this behavior anyway, I think is, and the whole but the whole sort of eating out expensively, conspicuous consumption. You see that a lot with blacks. Especially, if you see a black couple on a date, they tend to spend a lot of money. And then you wonder, all right, well, is that money that they have, or is that credit?
It became popular in the 1930s. Hunter's Weekly. Is that some church? What is brunch culture? It looks like a bunch of different origins to it. I'm gonna have to do a little bit more research on it, but my understanding was it was for people of a night of debauchery and would sleep in late on a Sunday.
I think degenerate behavior has become so normalized that people don't even realize, they don't recognize it anymore.
Oh, it's becoming more isolated. You're having more and more of these pockets where there's less commingling of different social classes. So the one thing the United States was kind of was quite proud of was the lack of class divide, unless you're like uber wealthy, right? So the rich would commingle with poor, poor would commingle with rich, labor would commingle with the managerial class, so on and so forth. So there was kind of like this fluidity of people moving around to different different walks of life. Even like general homeless people would befriend someone with money. It was not uncommon, but you're seeing it becoming more and more stratified, where it's these I'm thinking like some of my family members who are just making Uber dollars, and their whole attitude is so much different to what it was, to what their upbringing was like. They're just traveling. Got a cousin who goes. He's got a place in L.A. He's going to Turkey. He's going to Italy. He married a woman who makes a stupid amount of money. She happens to be a banker, and he doesn't work. He quit his job. She makes all the money, and they just travel the world. And and just his whole. Fortunately, he hasn't changed too much, but he is part of that echelon where he doesn't really commingle with people such as myself or our other
Mhm.
relatives.
I see. I
He
see.
would go to brunch. He would be the one spending
Yeah.
$160 on a meal every other night. He has a dog that I think is worth like $30,000. Why he has a dog that's worth $30,000 is beyond me. It looks like a regular dog, but hey, it's expensive, and you can talk shit about how great your doggy is.
Oh, I think I know who you're talking about.
Right?
um, I mean, yes, but is it really different than the past? I mean, I think there's always been, I think we've always had this illusion that America has no class divisions, but I think it always has. And I think foreign observers noticed that and, kind of made fun of it. I remember that there's a great quote by Theodore Dalrymple, the British doctor who writes really great essays about, the modern condition. But he said, once he was having dinner with an American businessman in the U.S., and this guy was kind of boasting about how America has no class divisions, and he was saying this as he was being waited on by like a short brown uniformed staff. And it's like, well, are you sure?
Well, you
So you
give
two guys are.
now what you do is that person's now on fentanyl, and he's looking at you as a person who will leave their garage door open to steal their Mercedes Benz,
Uh-huh.
right? It was
Mm.
when we were talking to that guy. Who the hell was that guy that we had on the show last year who wrote the article about Montana?
Oh yeah, yeah. I forget his name.
Sampson, whatever his name was.
Yeah, Isaac Simpson.
Isaacson, yeah. So remember, he was just talking about like, okay, how much Montana has changed. Now you have all these people, these coastal elites moving into Montana. Now a shack is
Yeah.
$800,000 in a second tier city in Montana, and they're expecting this to be doted on by a person who is popping fentanyl once he gets off of work. So naturally that person's probably not too
Mm.
thrilled with this coastal elite fucking douchebag driving a Prius or a Subaru, having eggs Benedict at 12 o'clock on a Sunday that costs fucking $40 a plate.
Yeah, no, that's
Meanwhile,
that's a
that
that
person's
was a
never
great
going to
essay.
have that meal. Was it Henry Ford made cars so that his own workers can drive the car?
Yeah.
Right now, that's no longer the case. We're talking a lot about cars in this show, but I studied the GM and Ford for that matter. These two automobiles, they had a lot of series of cars. So you start off with a Chevy. You start off with the Chevy. Then when you get a little bit older, you get a Pontiac or an Oldsmobile or GMC. Right? And the older you get, then you upgrade to the Buick. And then as the cherry on top, or you're an old man, you get the Cadillac. You don't
Mhm.
start off with the Cadillac. This is the problem. Now everybody wants to start off with the Cadillac. No, you have to. That's when you're old is when you get the Cadillac because you saved up all your money, right? That was
Yeah,
the whole
I just
point of
think
these cars. Is
right.
it was supposed to be the brand of car you got was where you are age wise in your life.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, look, expectations have risen.
Well,
There's no question.
Tim Dillon was talking a lot about real estate and boomers recently. It was great, the Thanksgiving special, and he was rattling off, I think, a Bloomberg article that during COVID that the boomers didn't downsize. 30% of boomers who bought homes during COVID actually got bigger homes.
It's hilarious.
So what do you think? You think you're taking that house with you when you die? Boomers say never die,
Well,
as you like to say.
yeah, the boomers, I mean, the boomers believe, well, correctly, that they're going to live, much longer than the previous generation. And, you know, they're looking forward to decades of continued enjoyment of life. And so, you know, they want to enjoy what they think is the fruits of their hard-earned.
I
You know,
worked my entire life. I worked my entire life. You and everyone else that's existed on the planet.
yeah.
Because you work your entire life, that means you're entitled to going to Santorini where your daughter went, so you can do a selfie.
Well, frankly, they're entitled to whatever they can afford.
I guess.
Oh, and that's what they're doing now. You would hope that they would want to take care of their kids. Like for me, so there is this common boomer thing that I'm not going to give my kids a dime, right? Because they have to earn it the way I did. Now,
Right,
to me, it's completely alien. It's a completely alien mindset. I mean, I would just, you know, obviously want to give my kids everything I could. Or at least I hope
your
that's
imaginary children, you would try to give them as much as possible.
Yeah, if I had kids, you know, if I had anything,
I would. If I had children, I would give them the house. Just give me a room.
Right.
That's what I would ask.
Yeah.
Right. Well, all I'm asking is for you just fucking watch after me, dude, because you know I might hurt my back or I have leukemia or you know I fucking have a stroke. I'll give you the house. Just fucking just watch after my ass.
Yeah, I mean that seems reasonable. You know, but the boomers they want to.
No, they put their parents in a nursing home.
So, but
because you're cramping our style.
So okay, but again, I'm always about flipping the script.
I understand. Go on. I'm listening.
Flip the script on this scenario.
Go for it.
All right, you've got this generation. What, 80 million people that are? It's a million boomers retiring every year, I believe. No, that might not be right. It's 10,000 boomers retiring every day.
Oh my God, that's a lot.
10,000 retiring every day. Now, what do they want to do? They want to spend their money. They're not giving their money to their kids. They're spending it. So what do you have to do? You have to find ways to take that money, okay, to separate them from their money. What do boomers like to buy? Well, we can see they like to buy, you know, these idiotic fucking conservative griftosphere products, right? Like this fucking conservative thought calendar everybody's talking about on Twitter. You got to be the guy that makes that.
Yeah.
Okay. This is how you can leverage the
you're gonna start making Trump commemorative plates with some dude from Alibaba in China to fucking make it. It's great.
You gotta get some guy in China.
No, you're right. I'm thinking like I got my grandfather has a Trump teddy bear.
That's exactly it.
It's a Trump teddy bear. I'll send you a picture of it.
We should totally do this. All right, we need to team up on this.
My buddy's got a little Trump bobblehead doll.
I'm not even kidding. We should just come up with a clever idea, you know, for some kind of merchandise. Find somebody in China. I know a girl in China who's very well connected, and she used to make shoes. I don't know if she still does, but she could probably find somebody who can make that shit, you know, in like 5 seconds. And yeah, and then we sell it. Now I don't know anything about this whole world, right? So I'd have to research it, but I mean, you could probably
that world is equally as nauseating as the gentrifiers with their electric scooters.
No, and that's fine, but I mean, you just got to kind of hold your nose and
and just do it right.
It's just a business proposition. But you know, and you think about all these conservative influencers, these fucking, you know, radio hosts and podcasters, and you know, the Charlie Kirks of the world and Ben Shapiro's and all that. Candace Owens, I mean, boomers. I mean, if we could, like, I just wish I could somehow turn myself black, you know, because like, no, I don't really wish to be black, but I mean, if you're an intelligent, you know, black man or woman and you can spout conservative talking points, you're made in the shade. Like, you'll never want for money again, because Fox News will hire you and give you a platform, and you'll write a book, because boomers are retarded. They love this shit. There is nothing they like better than voting for a conservative black guy. Think about it.
He's
There's
one of
nothing
us.
like better. There's nothing they like better than listening to a conservative black pundit and bragging about how colorblind they are.
Oh God, I heard Tucker Carlson talking about. So he was saying something like that to, like, who the hell was he talking to? To Charlie Kirk and someone else. I was like, oh my God, this guy, dude.
I saw a new grifter just dropped on Twitter. Now it's like the Native American conservative.
Ooh, I like that one.
Oh yeah, I'll try to dig up the tweet again, but it just seems so fake the instant I saw it, right? But some Native American guy, Indian, whatever, I don't know what they like to be called, and he's got like an AR-15, right?
Base.
And he's got whatever, the fucking American flag shirt or whatever it is. They love that. They love the women with the AR-15s and the bikinis.
Yep.
They love
With a
anything
barbecue and a beer.
Yeah, I mean, we just gotta come up with a clever idea and market that as some useless fucking boomer bait product.
Well, look at the Nigerians, how they pretend they're fucking Instagram models and fleece all these fucking incels' bank accounts.
There you go. Now, I don't advocate lying, because I think those people are really evil. I have run into so many of these types of scammers online. This is it. By the way, this is a huge problem that I think needs to be regulated. This proliferation of just completely fake people on the internet. These I don't even know if they might be bots in some cases, but they're probably real people in most cases, but they all have a similar script that they follow, depending on what platform you're on. But so like I'll get added by these I don't know, for example, I'm on this, like, I'm trying to think of which example I should give here, but like, I'll just get added by these quote unquote Russian women who want to talk to me, and they never live in the city where I am, right? They're always somewhere else, so they can't meet me. And it's like, all right, well, straight up, if you're not here and you can't meet me, then there's nothing to talk about, right? But desperate men think that they're actually communicating with a beautiful Russian woman. It's their only ray of hope, right? So they follow up and they get sucked into these conversations. And I think what these people do, they're not women, of course, they're probably Nigerian men. I think they try to get them to sign up for some kind of crypto trading platform.
Right. Yep.
That's what it usually boils down to, is something involving crypto. So I actually, just out of curiosity, like, I followed up with this one, alleged Ukrainian woman that was hitting on me online. And I just wanted to see what would happen and what her scam was, right? Like, what exactly does she want me to buy? And it wasn't immediately obvious. She wanted to talk about personal stuff. She, quote unquote, sent me a picture of the breakfast that she had cooked.
Ooh.
And of course she asked for my WhatsApp, because they always want to get your phone. What's that?
Trad scammer.
Well, that's another one, is the trad wife meme.
Oh God. We'll go on first with that, then we'll get into that.
Yeah. So, okay. But she, and she had this weird story of, like, why she's not in Miami, and there were inconsistencies, right? So I started to point that out, and she was pretty smooth in sweeping that under the rug and changing the topic. But she started dropping these hints about, like, investment, and of course they never have real jobs, right? They're always like, I run a fashion business, or I'm a crypto investor, some bullshit like that. And they're always traveling on business. I'm in Los Angeles on business. It's like, oh really? But then, like, they'll ask me questions about economics, and just there's recessions and things like that, and you can't trust anyone. And so, what do you think about crypto? You know, and eventually we had never reached this point with her, but she started. What happened was that she was asking me so many fucking questions. This is only like day 2, right? And I stopped responding, right? Or I gave like really brief responses, and she's like, well, you seem very evasive. I'd like to know what's up. And I said, well, I'm not being evasive. I just I've never fucking met you. Like, I don't know who you are. I don't know what you actually look like, what you actually sound like. I've never seen you and I never will. Right. So it's like, no, I'm not being evasive. But eventually, the scammer in question realized this wasn't going anywhere. And so it ended. But I think that's what they try to do. They try to get you onto these websites where they can somehow get access to your bank account information. They can make you invest in something. And the other one is I think also they may try to hijack your phone somehow.
Right. Yeah.
So you got to be careful when they send you images. Don't download them. Because there may be a virus in the image that somehow takes over your phone. I don't know exactly. There hasn't really been it seems like there's not a lot of scrutiny of this, and there should be, because there's so much scammery going on. I have been, on the same note, I have been besieged with calls and emails by these fucking Indian IT staffing companies.
Mm-hmm.
They see my resume online, they see me on the job sites, and they want to offer me a job, doing something that's vaguely related to what I do. And these opportunities don't really exist because the interaction never goes anywhere. They ask me to send my resume in an email, even though they have my resume already online. But they want me to send my resume, then they stop talking to me. They never follow up. The job is always closed after that. And I think what it is that they're basically just farming resumes. I think they need to hire H-1B visa workers. That's their primary target. But under U.S. regulations or whatever, they have to collect a certain number of applications from U.S. citizens. So they go fishing for resumes of U.S. citizens, and that's why I get contacted. But it's nonstop. It's just I get these fucking emails all the time, and I really think there needs to be better research and understanding of what the fuck is going on here, because this is a whole industry. It's a global industry of just scammery and spamming and lying and deception. And it seems to be proliferating because of AI, because of all these platforms that people spend all their time on. And who knows how many of these people I'm talking to are actually bots. I can't even tell anymore.
Right.
You know?
Have you messed around with ChatGPT at all yet?
Not on this call. But yeah.
It's fantastic.
How so?
Me using it, I mean, how refined it is, and I've been able to post a lot of different descriptions of such.
Yeah.
I could use it for my job easily.
Interesting.
It's fantastic. Once you get eventually it's going to be, you would have to pay for it. I don't know if you have to pay for it now, but
No.
I've definitely been able to use it in my line of work, and it's worked out really well.
Oh wow, that's cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, use it if it's useful. I've never found it useful at all. But if you, as long as you're sort of being careful about what you're using, and that it's because again, it's not human intelligence, right? It's machine intelligence. So there still needs to be a human that's reviewing it.
Yeah, you're right. Yep.
Of those prompts, right? And making sure that they're accurate. And
You're not putting the computer ahead of the human. I don't know why people keep thinking that. Like, okay, well, who created the computer? Who created ChatGPT? Oh, it was a human. So this idea that artificial intelligence is going to create artificial intelligence makes no sense to me whatsoever.
Well, I think artificial intelligence can create more artificial intelligence, but none of it is going to be real intelligence.
Right.
None of it is going to be conscious. None of it is going to be human. You know, I think there's to be honest, I'm not really that concerned about ChatGPT, or
No.
I don't think it's as earth shaking as some people seem to think. I'm just not really that impressed by it. What I am very impressed by is the image generation. That
I can't stand those memes. Some of them are good, but most of them are terrible.
Well, I'm not sure which memes you're referring to.
You know, the whole Disney memes, the Pixar memes, the Pajit covered in shit memes. You know which ones I'm talking about. The Norman Rockwell ones I sent you. You didn't like them.
No, oh, I know what you're talking about. But that was like months ago, right?
Yeah, but I still see them. They're not as popular as they were a few months ago, but I still see them in my feeds. I'm like, they're kind of stupid.
Yeah, so like generating, pictures in the style of a Norman Rockwell painting.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, there's all kinds of things you can do with it, but the latest generation of software that's just coming out can generate photorealistic images just instantly with incredible precision, according to your prompts. And I don't think people are really prepared for the implications of this. I mean, the implications are just crazy to me. And it goes way beyond like making artists unemployable. Because it's like, what's the point? I mean, like seriously, I mean, if you're training to be a painter, right? Why would you even work? Why? I mean, just quit, give up, and because this software can do everything that you can do and much better. And the thing is, you can use it as an artist. You can direct it. You can, calibrate the prompt so you can get exactly what you want according to your vision. But I mean, it's so mind blowing, and the software itself has its own vision too. The software is creative. That's what's so, aside from the fact that it's photorealistic at this point in the latest iteration, it's also that it's very creative and very interesting. And I think the potentialities for this are huge. I think you can create beautiful art. I think beautiful art will be created with the aid of software. But I'm also a little bit worried about the implications on human culture and the human psyche of just being bombarded with all these images that are indistinguishable from photos, and it's like there's a real problem that I think people will just become numb to images entirely. That, I mean, you won't be able to respond to images normally anymore. You won't be able to look at great art, historical great art, and say, oh wow, that's great, because you've just been, I mean, your senses have just been demolished by this kind of superabundance of artificially generated art. I mean, it's just the volumes of artwork that can be created in an hour, in a day, are astounding, right? I mean, you put the prompt in and you can get like, whatever, 500 iterations of what you're looking for overnight. And I think we're going to be just absolutely besieged with these images in the coming months and years, and it's going to affect our perceptions and our culture, our entertainment industry in ways that are hard to predict. So that's what I'm.
How about the lack of podcasts and the lack of entertainment in general?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Did I
tell you it was like I've been messing around on Netflix. Man, there's nothing on it. Nothing.
Yeah.
Oh my God, it's so bad. It's just junk. It's just so bad.
It's garbage, right? The quality of stuff that humans produce is declining. The quality of stuff that AI is producing is accelerating rapidly, right? At some point, there's going to be a convergence, right? And you're going to have just like, 99% of all books will be written by computers, and they'll be read by computers, right? And there's not going to be any humans involved in the process.
What's your take on dead internet theory? And then we'll wrap it up there.
Yeah. So dead internet theory is the idea that most of the internet isn't real.
Yeah, and it died in 2017.
Oh, is that the year?
Yeah.
I don't even know, like, what is that? What is the? I mean,
I'll read I'll go to the beginning. The dead internet theory is an online conspiracy theory that asserts that the internet now consists mainly of bot activity and automatically generated content that is manipulated by algorithmic curation, marginalizing organic human activity. Proponents of the theory believe these bots are created intentionally to help manipulate algorithms and boost search results in order to ultimately manipulate consumers. Furthermore, some proponents of the theory accuse government agencies of using bots to manipulate public perceptions, stating the U.S. government is engaging in artificial intelligence-powered gaslighting of the entire world population. The date given for this death was generally around 2016 or 2017. The theory has gained traction because much of the observed phenomena is grounded in quantifiable phenomena like increased bot traffic. However, the idea that it is coordinated psyop has been described by Caitlin Tiffany. Who the fuck is that? And what kind of name is that? Staff writer at The Atlantic, as a paranoid fantasy, even if there are legitimate criticisms involving bot traffic and integrity of the internet.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think if it's not true already, it's going to become true because of the vast, vast, vast amounts of data that are being generated by
Well,
AI.
I do. Like, if I look back at the internet 10 years ago and how much more organic it was versus the way it is today,
That's right.
yeah, I can see it. Dude, Google, Google Images, Google searches. Now all of a sudden, when I search a term or look something up, it looks like we ran out of things you've looked for. Like, I mean, I get hit with that after one or two pages, where
Yeah.
maybe 3 or 4 years ago, I'd have like 1,000 pages I can go through on something that I searched. So even search
Yeah.
engines aren't really searching what it is you're looking for anymore.
Now, the search engines have declined in quality. I think most people have noticed this.
I'm
You
using
know, and
Wayback Machine on archive.org more than ever to find what
yeah,
it is the hell I need to look up.
yeah. I mean, I recommend creating your own archive of information.